Hello, welcome to the Founders 15 podcast. My name is Phil Burst. We're here today with the lovely Jonny Clarke. Hello, Jonny.
How's it going, Phil? Good to see you,
I'm
mate.
good, mate. I'm good. Let's get straight to the point. That is what we do here on the Founders 15 podcast. Um, what is your number one thing you'd like founders to know when raising investment? What's the number one challenge you want them to be aware of?
Well, this might seem quite pertinent given today's date. We're at the end of one tax year and approaching the start of another. Um, I guess I would say a tax relief is not a reason to invest in a business.
Yeah, I feel that. I share that. What is a reason to invest in a business, John? What should founders be thinking about when they're looking to pitch?
Well, I teach across various programs and initiatives in the UK. I help founders with like broadly the raising process. Um, Everything I say is just riddled with paradoxes and sort of contraventions and hypocrisy in many ways. But so I typically don't really believe in fundraising consultants, etc. But what I do is I deliver a sort of combination of economics, like macro type stuff, up-to-date research that I've pulled together from other various platforms and data sources. And I put that together to try and help founders understand what sort of environment they're going to raise in. Um, and teaching and working with probably about 1,500 to 2,000 founders a year. Most of them quite light touch, but some of them more intensively. I see this obsession with pitch decks. Uh, Spoiler alert, I don't know a single investor who's ever not invested in a company because the pitch deck wasn't pretty or it wasn't in a certain order. Although, there is utility in having a structured deck that's concise to just get the message across, but the deck isn't the business, your product and your team really is your business. And also this kind of idea of, oh, we're SEIS, so
Mhm.
we want 20 grand off, yeah, but really it's only like 10 grand. Well, that's not true. I'm still going to have to wire you 20 grand, and certainly for me that's a considerable sum of money. I'd love to be in a position. I'm sure there's some big time family offices and UHNWs out there where they'll blow 20k and not really care. But yeah, for most of the angels I know, 20k is still a considerable sum. So that's what they're going to wire. It's not like the wire in 10k. Yes, they
Mhm.
can get income tax relief on the next self assessment, but yeah, it's just that's two of the things that seem to be coming up a lot lately, and I suspect it's partly because of the time of year as well. I've been
Mhm.
inundated with a flurry of stuff from people saying, "Hey, have you got any SEIS there? You got any EIS there? You want to put it into my company?" And they got a lovely deck, and sure, it's tax relief, but a lot of the time, the obsession on the deck and on the tax relief, and it comes quite often at the expense of focus on product, or it's actually because deep down they know that the product doesn't really solve the problem that it claims to solve, at
Mhm.
least not to the degree that they claim to solve it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm completely with you, John. And I think my follow-on question for that would be if I had to force you into a corner and say, what are the top three things you're looking for when you review a deck as an angel investor yourself? What would those three things be?
Mm. Well, as an angel, and because I'm dealing with comparatively small sums of money, I am sort of restricted in many ways to working at what people now call the pre-seed or friends, family, and fool stage. I do reserve money to do follow-on investments and try to maintain my ownership stake when the company does subsequent rounds. Obviously, that gets a little bit tough once they're in the millions sort of territory. But yeah, so I deal a lot at that early space, in that very early stage, because of trying to maintain a reasonable amount of ownership for the money I put in. That means there's more risk.
Mm.
I'm a big believer that as you progress from pre-seed to Series A, um, the way you describe your business goes from being predominantly qualitative and narrative driven to more quantitative and numerically driven.
Mm.
Uh, I like so no, number one for me is the origin story because I'm investing really in just a team with often an idea or a proof of concept. And you can go to lots of great software development agencies. I invest mainly in software.
Mm.
mainly, not exclusively, but mainly. There's a ton of great software development agencies you can get a proof of concept knocked up for quite cheap. So a lot of times, especially in the UK, product is outsourced at the early stage. It's different in different markets, but there's reasons why that is the norm in the UK right now, mainly. Um, so I'm really looking at the origin story of, how what are the skills of the founders? How well do they know each other if there are more than one founder? What is their experience of the market, and what is the likelihood of them being able to build the product, team, company, business case, enter the market and get to a stage where they can either achieve some sort of exit or, hand over to someone else who can. So that's probably the main thing. Uh, the other thing I'm typically thinking about is acquisition. Although increasingly, a lot of the policy work and sort of public speaking and type events and stuff I go to, I'm starting to actually rail against this, and people are going to say, well, that's silly because as an investor, you want an exit, right? You need a liquidity event. The company's either going to IPO or be acquired, or it's going to fail, and that's how you're going to get your money back or not get your money back. But I think from an economic perspective, there's actually too much focus on SaaS in particular, almost being a kind of a 7-year get rich quick scheme.
Mm.
Every deck has the hockey stick curve and then like a nice competitor slide where you're always in the top right hand corner. Actually, I'd like to see founders stay on and build companies past Series B, Series C, build large enterprises, and I think if you get to that territory, don't get bought out by an overseas private equity firm that then strips out all the jobs and replaces them overseas in other countries. I think that's a big problem structurally with the UK economy. We sell the family jewels too soon. Look, I'm not going to be mad if we have to come to some agreement because you're turning over 100 million a year and you just want to buy my shares out for some other price. I'm
Yeah.
sure we can we can come to some sort of agreement there. And then the third and final thing would just be be really honest with yourself, because things come out where I spend a lot of I take a lot of pictures, and most of them I don't invest in, but when I am serious about making an investment in a company, I will try and stay with the founders much longer than just a pitch.
Mm.
I want to get to know them over the course of at least 4 to 5 weeks, preferably a bit longer. Because people, it's like a job interview. People can do really well in a pitch, and they can sort of sell you bullshit without acutely lying.
Mm.
And it's always a bit of a grey area, isn't it? What is outside the realm of bigging the business up and bigging up your opportunities, and what's in the realm of just untruth. But yeah, so I like to get to know people over the long term. And I always kind of say my very final test before I wire money and take the shares and sign the docs on SeedLegals or Founder Catalyst or wherever else it is if they lost all that money in 6 months, would I still be okay inviting them round for dinner?
Okay.
Yeah, because it's fundamentally a very, as an angel, I'm typically a little bit more hands-on. I like to, I don't force it. People can just take the money and tell me to go away, and just speak to me whenever it works out or doesn't work out. That's fine. But typically, I spend quite a bit of time as well, just trying to help founders in any way that they see fit and anywhere that I have expertise and links. So, yeah, just being able to work with someone and have a personal relationship with them is, I think, really underestimated right now.
I mean, honestly, John, I'm just thinking about half the stuff you said there being brilliant and the other half being damn bloody good. I don't even know where to start unpacking that, but let me just reflect a couple of things back to you. So, number one, I love your 3 steps. Actually, I think they're really, really sensible. Really starting with the origin story and why is the founder or founding team motivated to solve this particular problem. I think some founders come to it and go, I've just done this, I can probably make a couple of quid, so I'm going to raise some cash. Whereas I think you're right, if they come from a personal place of kind of the pain was theirs and they're trying to solve a personal pain or a family member or a business they work with, I think that makes a lot of sense. I also love your kind of idea about founders thinking about the exit, because the founders that I work with, none of them think about exit. None of them think about that liquidity event or how they're going to return their cash to their investors. So I love that second bit. But I actually think the third point you made was probably the most insightful for me. And I'm with you. I hate pitches. I don't like pitching as a founder myself. I don't like being on the other end of pitches when I'm kind of part of them, because they're very, very binary and they're very, very decision driven. It's like next stage, next stage. And particularly when you're working with funds, you kind of see them half engaged when you're pitching. You can see them literally ticking boxes on some sort of bloody form that they've kind of got to fill in. And I love your idea of like the 4 week process. I really love that idea of saying, look, you can pitch to me, but I'm not going to decide today. What I will do is decide whether I want to spend more time with you. And I think that's a really, really kind of unique perspective on how to fundraise, particularly as an angel, but I think at large. Just for the last couple of minutes, John, I'd love to get your thoughts on what happens during those 4 weeks. What are you looking for? Go under the skin if you don't mind, John. What are the sort of the nuggets that you're looking for when you're engaging with that founder?
Wow, there's a ton that I'm sort of, I'm not keeping some kind of notepad. I'm looking for, well, I guess probably most importantly is integrity. Uh, is this someone that I can have a kind of a close business and kind of friendship with, as well as a business relationship? Do I trust this person to be transparent and on
Mm,
time with figures and other information that are important? Um, Ability to cover their blind spots, because nobody, or very rarely, I mean, there's some people out there that are really, really good, but you typically, everyone has a strength and weakness, right? It's, every no Pokemon card is unbeatable in the deck, right? And can they construct a team around them that covers those weaknesses as opposed to exacerbates them? Um, that is incredibly important as well. Um, and there's an execution factor, I guess, would
mm,
be we'll stick with three key ones, I guess. So yeah, execution. There is, I'm sure someone has probably done some sort of journal article or academic paper on this, but from the successful entrepreneurs, and when it's successful being they've either exited for good money or they're currently running a profitable, healthy business that
mm,
looks to grow in the future. Um, it's taken them as a proxy for success.
mm.
It looks that I don't like the word hustle and grit because I think they're overused, but the ability to execute and endure and just do stuff
Yeah,
trumps being intelligent and intellectual
yeah,
pretty much every single time. And when it comes to that measure of success.
yeah. I like Reid Hoffman's concept of being an infinite learner. I think that's the way that I like to think about my role as a founder and how I like to kind of coach people is saying, look, if you approach every day and that there might be stuff that I need to learn today, and I've got to have the humility and the kind of the genuine kind of drive to kind of learn something and push yourself outside of your comfort zone. I think that's a really, really endearing quality in a founder. And I think that's kind of what you were talking about there, really, wasn't it? About that ability to look at oneself and go, do you know what? I could be better, and it may need and to bring somebody in, or it may just mean I need to skill up myself. So I'm completely on board with that, John, and some fantastic insight there. I'm conscious we're kind of coming to the end of our 15 minutes, but I just final minute from you, John. What is it you do? How do you help? How would you like people to engage with you, and what is it you're looking for over the next kind of 12 months
Wow. Wow.
on a
Um,
professional
yeah,
level?
Yeah, all sorts of odds. So, I teach on a lot of programs right now. I act as a consultant to try and de-ossify the public sector, as I call it. So I think that a lot of we're very good at sticking plasters in the UK and EU, and actually we spend an enormous amount of taxpayer money, because there's no such thing as government money. Taxpayer money goes towards trying to remedy things that are actually originated or have an origin in bad policy.
Mhm.
So I work on developing programs, funds, and initiatives throughout the UK for public sector, private sector, some corporates, various places. Um, to boost innovation, alongside just working directly with founders.
Mhm.
When I am angel investing, I'm typically putting in 5, 10, or 20. And then also just trying to sharpen up the founder and make sure they're aware of what comes next. Um, yeah, that's the sort of the main thing. I know, I like running meetups and stuff as well. I'm in a really lucky position now where I get to spend a lot of time just doing what I enjoy, and like putting on socials for founders, trying to bring
Yeah.
people together and put meaningful content in front of them. So yeah, Liverpool Slushed 2024 tickets will be going live soon. Follow me on LinkedIn for that, and yeah, I'm sure I'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely, John. I mean, on behalf of like the founder community in Liverpool and beyond, you do some fantastic work with Startup Grind, with Slushed, with the accelerators that you work on. So, I personally have learned quite a bit from you, and I know lots of other people really value the insight and the help you give them. So, I'm going to say thanks very much for your time, John. I really appreciate it. I know people will find you on LinkedIn, so I don't even need to know that. Go and find John on LinkedIn. And apart from that, my friend, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Phil. Take care.